What's up gamers, Jem here, and recently GFN announced something crazy. They announced a new more expensive tier called the 3080 tier. Basically you pay monthly to have access to a 3080, but not just that, you also have access to 4K 60 FPS if you're playing on Nvidia Shield, but if you're like me who plays on PC, then you have access to 1440p with 120 FPS. Yeah, 120 FPS cloud gaming at 1440p, that's quite a big leap from their normal offer, which is 1080p 60 FPS. This new tier doesn't come included in the normal GFN subscription, it's a bit more pricey. It costs £15 a month, which Stadia Pro costs £9 a month, and also GFN's normal subscription costs £9 a month as well. If you were to ask me which is better, Stadia Pro or normal GFN, then I would easily tell you Stadia Pro is better. You get 4K 60 FPS support and a bunch of cool free games every month. Normally you get an average of 4 Stadia Pro games a month, and personally I end up enjoying one or more Stadia Pro games per month, and now I ended up having over 100 free games. But GFN's £15 a month, the 3080 tier, you're paying £6 extra, but the question is it worth it? Before we move further, I do want to say that currently at the moment there's only a 6-month subscription option, which is £90 per 6 months, and that comes down to £180 a year. I'm sure in the future GFN will give us the option to do standalone £15 a month subscription. So asking the question, is it worth it? Well, if we don't include the pandemic market, which makes the 3080 super expensive to get right now, which would make it over £1,000, and instead we stick to retail prices, which is £650, then £15 a month or £180 a year doesn't seem that much, especially since we could assume this 3080 tier isn't going to be here forever. It will eventually upgrade to a 4080 or a 5080 or something like that as the years go by. From that perspective, I think £15 a month for a 3080 is a juicy deal. But what about the competition? Let's start off with Shadow. Shadow is a PC cloud gaming service that allows you to have your own virtual PC where you can download and play any games, but the service is very expensive and you pay extra to have less restrictions such as storage. Let's check their cheapest tier, which is £30 a month, and in return you get access to an Nvidia 1080, which is funny because that's the graphics card my PC has for many years. So right off the bat, Shadow costs twice as much as a 3080 GFN tier, and also in return I'm getting a 1080. According to many benchmarks online, an Nvidia 3080 outperforms a 1080 more than double, about 115% more power on average depending on settings and games. It's safe to say that with Shadow, essentially you're paying double but half the performance. The only advantage Shadow has is that you can download any PC game you want. You don't need to wait for GFN to support a game or update the game. You have a virtual PC in the cloud. The question you need to ask yourself is, are you willing to pay double the price and half the performance just so you can play any game you want? Also, what if the games you want to play are already on GFN? So let's compare the GFN 3080 tier against Stadia Pro. They both offer 4K 60 FPS. Again, I do need to remind you that currently 4K 60 FPS on GFN is only on Nvidia Shield. PC gamers get 1440p 120 FPS, which is something Stadia doesn't offer at all right now in terms of 120 FPS. Stadia Pro is £6 cheaper and you get free games. Needless to say, Stadia is also very super convenient. You just simply click play and that's it. There's no account linking or typing in manual passwords involved, just click and play. So GFN 3080 tier costs £6 more, making it £15 a month. As I mentioned, I think the price is worth it in terms of the power you're getting in return, but realistically, what does that mean for me as a gamer? You can throw a bunch of numbers at me, but what is the experience like and what can I expect? Well, I can actually expect something that never happened before with me in cloud gaming. Assuming that I have an Nvidia Shield, I no longer need to question if this new game that's coming to GFN, is it 4K 60 FPS? I no longer need to ask that because the answer is always yes. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm able to play every game at max settings at 4K 60 FPS, but it does mean that I should have the option to play at 4K 60 FPS if I want to. I can play around with the graphics settings to ensure that I'm getting 4K 60 FPS, or maybe you're the type of player who doesn't care about FPS and just want pure graphics. Then max those settings out and enable ray tracing, and perhaps you'll be playing some games at 4K 30 FPS. The way I see it is that there is no correct answer because it comes down to matter of choice. I love Stadia Pro and I will continue subscribing to Stadia Pro, and I gotta say the GFN 3080 tier is a very juicy deal. I see it as an option for hardcore cloud gaming. For the first time in cloud gaming, we finally have the ability to play at max settings of 4K 60 FPS on every game that comes to the service. It's a really great time to be at right now, and to pay £15 a month for that doesn't seem that much to me once you realize the value you're getting in return, but I understand this tier is definitely not for everyone. The 120 FPS at 1440p has caught my interest, and I thought about this for a very long time and even signed up for a month of GFN just to fully test as much as I can as I was making a decision. I ended up deciding that I am going to expand my channel to cover GFN as well. I've been working on a new thumbnail templates thanks to the cloud gaming community on Twitter for giving me feedback and voting on what to change, so it is absolutely clear to you gamers on which contents are Stadia content and which are GFN content. I'm super excited to try out GFN's 3080 tier, and I hope you'll enjoy my upcoming new content. I've already made this announcement on Twitter and I've received incredible amount of positive feedback from the community, and I deeply appreciate it and I love you all. Before I end the video, I just want to say a few more things. We are cloud gamers here, we have freedom of choice, and we're not restricted to choosing one service. We have the freedom to choose as many cloud services as possible. You don't have to use all of them at once, but you do have that choice. I recommend checking out my Dear Cloud Gamers video that I made over a year ago talking about just that. Also, a special thanks to Google Stadia. As a PC gamer, I had no interest in cloud gaming until I saw Google Stadia's announcement and how it was the world's first cloud gaming platform. Not a cloud gaming service, but an actual platform where games are developed for the cloud. That got me excited and interested and invested into Stadia. As time went on, I started liking cloud gaming more thanks to Stadia. As you may already know, I bought a PS5 earlier this year and returned it a few months later because I got annoyed by the traditional console gaming limitations, which I normally was never annoyed by because it was just part of console nature that I've experienced for 2 decades. It was the extreme convenience provided by Stadia and cloud gaming that made me stop playing on PS5 and made me return it. Thank you Google Stadia for introducing me to cloud gaming, and I very much look forward to the future of cloud gaming for everyone. Thank you for watching my video. This is Jam, and I'll see you on the next one.